Welcome to Running Commentary number 52. We passed the amazing holiday of Pesach. We're preparing for the amazing holiday of Shavuot. And in between, sandwiched in between Pesach and Shavuot, is Sefirat HaOmer. I'm Rabbi Chaim from Chabad of the West Side, New York City. We're running here in Central Park on this beautiful day, on the 16th day of the Omer. And I'd like to share with you an idea that illuminates and clarifies an interesting approach or opinion from one of the Tanaim, the Tanaic great scholars and leaders of the Jewish people, about the mitzvah of Sefirat HaOmer. So to bring it back to the start, we have the Torah commands us, it's a biblical obligation, U'sefartem lachem miyom mimacharat HaShabbat miyom haviachem et Omer hatnufa sheva Shabbatot mimot tihyena ad mimacharat HaShabbat hashvit tisperu 50 yom. In a nutshell, loosely translated, the Torah is telling us from the day after the first day of Pesach, after you bring the Korban Omer, the sacrifice called the Omer, which is a barley offering, you should count 7 weeks, 7 complete weeks, and 50 days, or 40, we count 49 days, and the 50th day is Shavuot. So the question now becomes, what happens? So we know that we have to first bring the Korban, offer a sacrifice, after which we count the 7 weeks and 49 days. But what happens if there's no sacrifice? If there's no Korban? What do you do then? Do we still need to count or not? In the end, of course, we do count. But the question really is, from the Jewish halachic perspective, are we biblically mandated to count? Or is it a rabbinic mitzvah? Is it a deoraita, which means a mitzvah, commandment, that's still biblically mandated in these times of our exile, even though we don't have the Beit HaMikdash, we don't have the ability to sacrifice, to bring offerings. So is the mitzvah of counting the Omer linked to the mitzvah of bringing the Korban or not? That's the question. There are 3 opinions about this. One opinion is the Rambam, Maimonides. He says that the mitzvah to count the Omer today, to count the weeks, and to count the days is biblical, even though we don't have the sacrifice. The Tosfos, a different authority, say that the mitzvah to count the weeks and the days are not biblical today. They're of rabbinic nature. The rabbis continued this mitzvah for us to do, or instituted that we continue it, even though we don't have the sacrifice. And then our Rebbe points out that there's a third, lesser known opinion of Rabbeinu Yerucham, who says that today we don't have the sacrifice. Obviously we can't bring a korban. Then we have the mitzvah to count the weeks and the mitzvah to count the days. The mitzvah to count the weeks is rabbinic, it's not biblical. The mitzvah to count the days is still a biblical mandate, a biblical commandment. And the question is why? The Rambam, the Tosfos opinions, either it's biblical or rabbinic, that makes sense. But what is the logic of dividing the counting into 2 parts, where it's some of it is biblical and some of it is rabbinic? That's the question that the Rebbe answers in a most beautiful way. But in order to understand this, he says, we need to go back to the relevance of Sefiras HaOmer in our day-to-day life. And he says that we know that aside from the biblical mitzvah to count the days, we're preparing ourselves for Matan Torah. Between Passover and Shavuot, on Pesach we got a gift from God that we were freed. On Shavuot we get a gift from God, the Ten Commandments, the Torah, and Mount Sinai. In between those days, we prepare. Between Pesach and Shavuot, we prepare for the giving of the Torah. That preparation is fairly detailed. It's detailed into weeks and days. And there are 10 known Sefirot. Excuse me. Sorry. 10 known Sefirot that God uses to create the world, and we use in our daily functions. They're intellectual, emotional, and action, loosely categorized. There's Chachma Bina Das, which is Chabad, Chesed Gevur Tiferes Chalgas, Netzach Hod Yisod Malchus. I'm not going to go into all the details now, but the Rebbe says that, and it's in the Siddur, that on every day of the Omer, we clarify, we purify ourselves, we refine our characteristics, our character traits a little bit more. Each day a different character trait, but every week one midah, we focus on one character trait. The first week is chesed, the second week is gevura, then tiferes, etc. So says the Rebbe as follows. Each of these, the way we refine ourselves in preparation for the giving of the Torah is we have actually 3 levels of refinement in ourselves. One is the mind, one is the heart, and one is the action. The mind is our intellectual abilities, the heart is our feelings and emotions, and the actions is everything we do, say, think, or speak. So says the Rebbe, during Sefiras HaOmer, we had the refinement, the obligation, the requirement, the opportunity to refine all 3 aspects. And he says as follows, that the Korban Omer, the offering in the temple that they used to give, that was corresponding to the refinement of the mind. The Kohen Gadol, or the Kohen, would go into the Beit HaMikdash, offer that offering, and he would figuratively, symbolically refine the mind of all the Jewish people and the world. Whatever that means, we're not going to go into that now. But that was the level of refining the mind. During the time of the Beit HaMikdash, once the mind was refined, everyone else had the mitzvah to count the Omer, the weeks and the days. The counting of the weeks, each week represents another midah, another character trait. So everyone was able to, and everyone refined and upgraded their own midot. And then the counting of the days represents the actions we do. Everything we do, we think, we speak, we do. And everyone during the time of the Beit HaMikdash also, obviously, was obligated in refining the actions. So at the time of the Beit HaMikdash, the Kohen would bring a korban, refining the mind. The people were able to refine their heart, their feelings, and their actions. And that's why they counted, that's why they brought the offering. There were 3 things happening during the time of the Holy Temple. They brought the offering, they counted the weeks biblically, and they counted the days biblically. Now that we don't have the Holy Temple, and the level of holiness in the world has diminished, we're not able to refine the mind the way they did then. And the question is, can we be biblically mandated to refine our hearts, and our emotions truly and completely transform them to be dedicated to God or not. And also, the same is about our actions, about our thought, speech, and deed. Can we be biblically mandated today, in the time of godless, in the time of exile, to refine our actions, every thought, every speech, every word, and every action we do, every deed we do? Can we be biblically mandated to have them dedicated to God? And here's where the Rambam and the Tosfos and Rabbeinu Yerucham disagree. The Rambam says, Maimonides says, that although we don't have the Beit HaMikdash, the Holy Temple, and we are not able to refine our mind the way they used to, we're still biblically mandated to refine our hearts, our emotions, our feelings, and our actions. And that's why he says the mitzvah of counting the HaOmer is biblical today. Counting the weeks and counting the days. The Tosfos say, can't do it. If you can't take care of your mind, the rest won't follow. You can't take care of your heart and your actions biblically. Of course, rabbinically, we try, we aim, we strive, but we can't be held to it, held accountable as much. And Rabbeinu Yerucham, who is seemingly the Rebbe's favorite opinion, says there's a difference between the emotions and between the actions. He says, though we don't have the Beit HaMikdash today, we can't bring the sacrifice, and we can't refine our minds. We also cannot refine our hearts completely, so we can't be biblically mandated to refine our hearts. So we can't be biblically mandated, therefore, to count the weeks. But we are biblically mandated to count the days. Because the days represent action, thought, speech, and deed. And in that, says Rabbeinu Yerucham, illuminated by the Rebbe's teachings, everyone is capable and responsible biblically to think, speak, and act in accordance with God's will. And because we're capable, we're responsible. And that's why we have to count the days according to the biblically mandated mitzvah, not just a rabbinic mitzvah, which of course is not viewed any less. Technically we fulfill the rabbinic and the biblical in with the same passion and dedication. But there is a difference if something's biblical or rabbinic. And here we have a beautiful explanation to the opinion of Rabbeinu Yerucham about the bottom line is that we can all do it. We can all just do it, like Nike says. So go ahead and just do it. God bless you. Enjoy the beautiful day. Not sure how to stop this thing here.